So, Richard, thank you
Yes.
so much for joining me
My pleasure.
to chat about your book, Can I Have My Ball Back?
Yes.
Which is in reference to the ball that you lost to cancer.
It is, yes.
And in the book, there is a part where you muse about, should you have asked the question if you could keep the removed ball?
Yes.
What would you have done if you'd have kept it?
Well, Taskmaster was coming up. I was in the Champion of Champions version of Taskmaster, and I didn't know what the item we were going to bring in. But there's a first round where you bring in something as a prize, and the best one wins 5 points. And I thought, whatever the prize task is, a severed testicle in a jar has got to be worth something. I thought I could say I'd give my right bollock to win Taskmaster, but I think it might have been a bit of a nasty. It might have been more nasty than funny. So maybe I did the right thing in not doing that.
Yeah. And you made a puppet of
Yes.
Right Bollock.
Yes.
Where are you up to in deciding whether or not that was a good way to process things?
I'm still not sure. I did really think about. I vacillated about a lot of things. To begin with, I wasn't sure I was going to really openly talk about it at the time, or at least until it was over. But it would have been. I did so many podcasts, and I've got a blog, and and there was sort of hints throughout all of these things that something was going on. So I felt like I should be honest, and I'm glad I was. But with the puppet, I was thinking, should I? I had a guy who made puppets, and I thought, will it be weird if he gets an email saying, can you make a puppet of my bollock? But I sort of bit the bullet, and he was very keen and did various choices that he'd come up with. So he came up with about 6 or 7 different versions of it and was very excited about it and made it very quickly. I thought it wouldn't, so it was there within 2 or 3 weeks, really, the puppet. And yeah, so it was a weird thing because I wanted to address the fact that it's weird, a piece of your own body trying to kill you, and what was going on in the testicle's mind. To destroy me was also going to destroy it. So had I been that bad to my testicle in this time, and what resentments would he had? I've been in quite a few double acts. I didn't expect this double act to break up, but I've been in double acts that have broken up. So I kind of thought this might be a good way to try and get through various things, including losing a testicle.
And in the book, you use so many different words for balls.
Yes.
Do you have a favourite?
I guess. I like comparing them to a less wrinkly version of the Chuckle Brothers, but partly because also we've found out what it's like to lose one of those as well, and arguably the best one. And so there's a sort of I think I used that metaphor about them before. And so now it feels like, as so much of this does, feels like justice for the crimes I've committed throughout my career. I like the equivalent of the two blokes who stood in the back, and he's 17 doing that with the charismatic front. You're too young to remember. He's 17.
I do know who they are.
Okay. I realised quite a lot of the references, because the other one, I was talking to Adam Buxton yesterday, and he liked the McSquirter twins, which again you have to be in your 50s to understand what that means. So
I quite liked Sperm Satchel.
Makes
it sound very bookish.
Yeah. There are some little hammocks and satchels, and it was hard to come up with when I did a book called Talking Cock 20 years ago. It was kind of easy to just come up with different euphemisms every time you used it. Nearly. With testicles, I sort of started running dry quite quickly, so it wasn't quite as throughout the book as possible. Even when you go to the sort of the more obvious, the less sort of poetic ones, if you just want to be moving the conversation on, there's only about 5 or 6 real words, whereas a penis there's so many words you can use for penis. So yeah, we've neglected the testicles, and this is the result.
The ode to them.
They're fighting back.
Yeah. And so when you first went to the doctor about this, and when you first went, he said he's a betting man, he would think it wasn't cancer.
Yeah.
So when it got to the point where that was flipped, and it probably was.
Yeah.
What went through your head?
I mean, it was really profound and sort of weird. It was just I was overcome with emotion, and I sort of cried in a way I've never cried before. Didn't feel. I tried to explain it in the book. I'm not sure how successful I am, but it didn't. It came out without me trying to make it. Just tears, sort of huge tears, just sort of flowed. So it was worry for my family and self-pity as well, though. So it's quickly turned into, that's not fair. My son won't know who I am. It's not. There was an element of, what's going to happen to my kids and how will they be if they don't have a dad. But it was equally like, who's my wife going to marry next, and is he going to drink my whiskey? So there was a lot of different thoughts. But I think it was that sort of real. And I've thought about death all my life. I've been obsessed with death all my life. But you sort of still don't really inside you believe it's really going to happen to you. There's a part of you that thinks I'll hang on somehow.
Yeah.
So I think it was a real profound understanding of my own mortality in that moment.
In the bit where you thought you might die, you were very focused on making memories. Did you find a way to get past that kind of pressure to make memories, which inevitably takes you out of the moment?
Yeah. I mean, I think you just have to wait for the right moment to come along. So, it was sort of interesting looking back. So, like, when I was trying, it snowed one day and I was thinking, oh, great, I remember all the snow days as a kid. This will be a day I can make my kids, they'll at least remember this day that we went out. And then everything was just not quite nice enough. And I've seen the video there's a little video where Phoebe, my daughter, throws a big snowball at me and laughs. And I'm like, but you can see in my face that even in the moment, I'm thinking, oh God, this is a video they're going to watch when I'm dead. So I'm not really enjoying it. And then we went back to the house and the snow was melting. We tried to make these snowmen and we do quite well. But I hadn't cleared, because it was the winter, I hadn't cleared the cat shit out of the garden. We got a little bit of lawn. And the cat used to shit on the lawn, and I used to go out and tidy it up usually, but I hadn't done. So this snowman was just covered in cat shit. And it was just like me attempting to create this wonderful moment, and then just life rebounding on me. And then I think the thing, we had a kite, and we took the kite out, and because I wasn't thinking about it, that was the perfect moment that might be a memory for either way. It's certainly a memory for me. And it was this kind of magical 45 minutes of just managing to fly this kite. So yeah, the thing is, you can't. It is like Groundhog Day, which I think I mentioned in the book as well. But in Groundhog Day, when they have that snowball fight, the first time it happens, it's spontaneous and it's great, and then every time he tries to recreate it, it just doesn't work, and it feels creepy and weird. And so it is. You've got to let life come to you, and you've got to let experience life, and you can't try for those sort of things. You can't try and manipulate it.
Yeah. And where have you got to in the conundrum of whether it's better to die by falling into lava or die by getting eaten by a crocodile?
Yeah.
And can you explain the conundrum?
Yeah, so my daughter, who I have a strange relationship with, I'm pretty sure she loves me, but she doesn't like to show. I think this book sort of shows that she does love me, but me and her communicate through jokes. And she loves her mum, but she's not very affectionate with anyone else, including me. And so I was homeschooling her, and she didn't want to be homeschooled, and I didn't want to homeschool her. And she's young, so we didn't even have to do anything. And we'd been about 40 minutes of her refusing to do it. And I said, look, you just have to do something, just so that So we'd say you could just draw a picture, it's fine. She went, fine. And she grabbed this pen and scribbled, and she's a very good artist. She scribbled this picture and came back to me and said, that's you falling into lava. And it was this amazing picture of a stick figure falling into what looked like very good lava. And then she went, no, hold on. And she said, that's you because I hate you, I think she said, and then she said, no. And then she went out and just with three flashes of her pen created this little crocodile that I was also falling into. So I wasn't just falling into lava, I was falling into a crocodile in lava. So I was going to be eaten by the crocodile and then be killed by the lava afterwards, or if I was still alive from the crocodile. And then she's ever since then, she knew how much I enjoyed it. And she enjoyed the joke of it. So that's her running joke, really. So every card she does me, there's some lava in it somewhere. I don't think she's going to kill me, but she might if she turns out to be a serial killer. You heard it here first. But I think she's a nice girl, and I think it's just that's our way of communicating. So yeah, I do this thing in my podcast about emergency questions, but it is quite a good emergency question. Would you rather fall into lava or be eaten by a crocodile? They're both pretty horrific ways to die.
Yeah.
So I think falling into lava is probably better because you just would die of shock fairly instantly.
Yeah.
was that if you fall into the crocodile, I think the chances are you get chewed up by the crocodile, you're not quite dead, and then you fall into some lava.
Yeah.
And so I think she's right. The addition of a crocodile makes it worse. I feel a bit sorry for the crocodile, who looks just slightly fed up in the picture. He sort of is rolling his eyes in the picture she did, going, "Oh, here I am. I have to catch people in the lava and then burn to death myself."
And you mentioned you have a couple of extras to the audiobook. So you've got you chatting to Right Bollock, you've got you and your oncologist.
Yes.
What else is in there?
I interviewed my wife, because my wife's the sort of the unsung, well, she's now hopefully been sung hero of this whole story, I think. And I think this, and I wanted to make the point that I think any situation like this is much worse for the partner, especially the partner, and especially a partner with young kids, because the kids knew but didn't know. My son wouldn't have understood what was going on, but my wife had to be this rock for me, basically, and also do some fairly horrific admin to my body. I got a rash from the jockstrap I was wearing. I thought I was meant to wear it all the time, and so I kind of got quite sore in quite a delicate place, and I couldn't really work out how to get the cream on. So I had to get into a certain position, and my wife had to put the cream in a certain crevice of my body, and I think for that alone she deserves some kind of medal. So it's nice to give the audiobook some layers and stuff. I think someone like Adam Buxton's so amazing at making audiobooks that are that are worth having as an audiobook, because they come at you from all directions. But yeah, I'd always want to put extras in things if I can anyway. So yeah. I think that's so. I talked to my bollock, and I talked to my oncologist, and I talked to my wife. I think that's it. But have a listen. There might be something else.
All the key people. Well, Richard, thank you so much. Pleasure to chat.
Really, thank you very much for having me.